The Cowboys, Jerry Jones came into the offseason saying they were going to make all the moves, right? This was going to be like all in this year. Well, yeah, they still have a lot of big question marks. Dak contract, CeeDee Lamb possible holdout, Micah Parsons will be a domino effect with whatever happens with Dak and CeeDee. Oh, and Mike McCarthy also playing for his contract, or for his season.
Yeah, coaching
for his. Let's start with the Dak contract, okay? And let's be clear, Dak has all of the leverage right now.
No trade clause, no tag clause.
He finished second in MVP voting, most passing touchdowns, second in passer rating, third in passing yards, and
runner-up to the MVP.
Yeah, second in MVP voting. Yeah, said that. In case you need reminding, quarterbacks are the most important position on these billion-dollar franchise. So at some point, you're going to have to pay your guy. Now, it was rumored that Dak wanted somewhere around like $60 million a year, which is a big jump from the $55 million being the top.
Where we're headed
right now.
Where we're headed.
You're going to have to pay your quarterback, and you are the richest franchise in the world. Dallas Cowboys, the richest. And when you look at the highest paid quarterbacks per year right now, tied at first, Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow at 55. Jared Goff, third with 53. Herbert, fourth at $52.5 million. Lamar Jackson at 5, $52 million. Jalen Hurts, $51 million at 6. And fun fact, none of these top 6 quarterbacks have won a Super Bowl. 3 of them have made it to a Super Bowl and lost, Burrow, Goff, and Hurts. So
yeah, you can argue Dak hasn't sniffed a Super Bowl either. But
he hasn't.
But
when you compare Dak and Mahomes, last 60 regular season starts, it's pretty darn good. And it is almost identical, okay? I'm on a little bit of the Dak hype train right now, okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I realize that the stats say there, but there's that's a hard thing for me to get behind because it's so easily refuted. Because obviously Patrick Mahomes is one is the regular season. I'm here to tell you though that the Cowboys' pitfalls in the postseason, how's that for alliteration? Lie more with the front office than they do with Dak Prescott.
Attack, let's go. I mean, Dak is what, 2-5 in the playoffs?
Well, show me all these quarterbacks other than Patrick Mahomes that have these wonderful playoff records. Even like they like the best most guys do is 500 in the playoffs. So here's the thing, and everybody will tell you this: the postseason is a completely different season once you get there, and the margin for error is that much smaller.
0.
Dak doesn't magically. I mean, his last game against the Packers was probably his worst playoff game, and I'm here to acknowledge that. I understand.
Oh man, brutal.
But Dak
brutal
doesn't magically get horrible once the postseason starts. It's that the margin for error is so much smaller, and he does not, from a skill position standpoint, have the help he needs. Look at what Dallas Cowboys have as far as weapons goes. He has CeeDee Lamb, who, yes, is a wonderful receiver.
Yeah.
Who else is the defense afraid of on that Dallas Cowboys roster?
Oh, no, they need
more
more
like
weapons.
Jake Ferguson as a tight end. They have one of the weakest running back rooms going into this season. Who is your number 2? Brandon Cooks was supposed to be that for you last year. Did not live up to that whatsoever. Just in the NFC alone, there are so many offensive cores I am taking before the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles, Niners, Bears, Vikings, Lions. I'm taking the entire NFC North, especially the Packers, who beat them in the playoffs due to the sheer amount of options available to Jordan Love. The defense didn't know who to defend.
Yeah.
So how it contrasts that with, all right, I'm a defensive going against the Dallas Cowboys. Who do I have to look out for? CeeDee Lamb. That is it. So when it comes to the playoffs, that's not going to fly.
So then should Dak stay with the Cowboys?
I hope he doesn't. I hope he's smart enough to understand that the Cowboys front office has only subtracted in the last few years for Dak. They got rid of Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Their offensive line, everybody wants to talk about all the Pro Bowlers that the Cowboys have, and I agree. They do. They have like 7 or 8 of them.
Okay.
A lot of those are on defense. Dak Prescott is one of them, or all pros. I should say 9 Pro Bowlers. Dak Prescott is one of them. You have 2 guys on your offensive line that are all pros, but guess what? Your offensive line is only as good as its weakest link. You have Zach Martin, Tyler Smith. That's great. You have a rookie starting at both left tackle and center this year. So the offensive line is not these Dallas offensive lines of old. What, like, Dak Prescott could have his pick of the litter if he hits the open market. He is going to have a bidding war.
Okay, where do you see him fitting in then? If it's not in Dallas, where could you see him, a good landing spot for him?
I mean, it's going to depend on a lot for some of these teams that don't have quarterbacks this year or may not have quarterbacks next year.
Yeah.
I mean, like, roughly a quarter of the league changes over when it comes to their quarterbacks and their head coaches, for that matter, every offseason. So you don't know necessarily where that's going to materialize, but like, God, could you imagine, like, first of all, like, half the league runs this Shanahan-McVay system.
Uh-huh.
I would love to see Dak Prescott in a system like that with a bunch of window dressings and a bunch of weapons and all this other stuff. Could you imagine him having all of that at his disposal? Because Dak is one of the best distributors of the football of anybody. And he's one of the most reliable. And again, it's just the fact that when the postseason comes around, the margin for error gets that much smaller. But if you have options, you can lean on a bunch of different guys. And I would trust Dak Prescott to do that. Even, despite what we saw against the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because it's like you're only as good as your last game.
And also, if you're...
That was a horrible way to end the season.
If you're Dallas, what's your contingency plan? You don't know what Trey Lance is going to be. Like, the fact that trying to luck into or fall backwards into another franchise quarterback, like you did with Dak, like you did with Tony Romo, in Trey Lance, that's too much luck, even for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean... Do you think he's going to be a Cowboy next season?
Like I said, I hope not. I really hope not, because I think that we could see Dak's full potential elsewhere.
Okay.
The Cowboys spent nothing, virtually nothing. I think $15 million in free agency this year.
Nothing. Oh, and going into the offseason saying we're all in.
No, that's lip service.
Nothing.
That's all lip service. And by the way, do you know why Dak has a no trade, no tag clause?
Tell me.
Because the Cowboys wait to the last minute to get all of this done so that you do get backed up with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, all need to be paid within a year.
Yep.
Because and somehow their players kind of bail them out of this, but it's poor management. That's what it comes down to. And so I put a lot more of the onus on the front office for Dallas's playoff woes than I ever would for Dak Prescott. And the only way for people, I think, to see that is if Dak Prescott goes somewhere else and is extremely successful. So I want it. No, Dak, don't go back to Dallas.
I mean, but like, okay, so what are you hearing? Obviously, like you've got some insider like Dallas Cowboy information. Are they going to get a contract done before the start of the season? Do you see that happening?
I think Dallas is going to try.
But only if they hit that $60 million a year number that he wants. That's the only way he's
like. Why otherwise? Like, if you know that you can get to the open market and get $60 million a year, what is your incentive otherwise? Again, like Dallas cannot trade you.
No,
they cannot. Like, so you can't go and like you have all the leverage if you're.
Did
Dak
they
Prescott.
say they didn't want to reset the market?
Yeah, of course they did, because they can't, because they have to pay CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons on top of that. But if a deal doesn't get done during training camp, I think Dak Prescott is gone.
Interesting. It's going to be such an interesting year for the Cowboys.
It always is. They are the kings of the drama.